Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is the SU-130PM. It's a Tier 8 premium Soviet tank destroyer. It's located on the southwest border of Arctic Region, and this one is under the command of Mike 1963-1. And this is the first of two videos, or two replays in one video, both featuring tank destroyers. Okay, well, this is the Soviet version of the Scorpion, you could say. It's a very high alpha tank destroyer. 13 centimeter gun, this one. It's capable of doing 520 alpha, penetrating 243mm with standard ammo, and with the heat rounds it'll go through 320mm. So it does go through a lot of armor and does a lot of damage. Much higher alpha than the Scorpion, which is 490. You can see that even with the HE rounds, it will do 660 damage to the enemy. Now, this tank destroyer came in after the Scorpion, and a lot of people at the time were, well, quite happy with it, because it was one of those ones which you actually earned on a marathon if you did enough damage. Either they earned them or they actually bought them after doing enough, getting enough points to make it cheap enough. It's actually a very good tank destroyer because it does have much better accuracy than the Scorpion. It does have one big drawback though. It's only got 77.5 millimeters or degrees either side of the center line that you can aim it. Just like the Guerrilla 15, it cannot shoot behind itself. It's an open cockpit, which means that if an HE shell hits the thing, it's likely to do a lot of damage, either kill the crew or just go straight through the armor. But it does tend to go through enemy armor fairly well. Look, he just put a round through an AMX M449 Liberté, and they've got pretty strong armor. Reload time is quite long, a bit longer than the Scorpion. That's normally around about 10 seconds, but the SU-130PM, well, booked reload is 13.04, and you can see here that Mike has managed to get it down to 12.75. Now, seeing as it's open cockpit, you cannot use vents because, of course, it's open. Vents would have no purpose in an open cockpit vehicle. But on the other hand, that means that you can actually use one of the slots for something else, either to have binos, which is what Mike's using here, or to use gun lane drive to dial in on the enemy as quickly as you can. The other thing about it, and a lot of people don't make any statements about it, well, not statements, but they don't realise it can actually go as fast as it can. It's actually got a top speed of 65 kilometers an hour. And that may not seem much normally, especially when you see how slow it is to actually accelerate. But the fact of the matter is that it can be a game-winning speed, because you can get from one end of the map to the other quickly enough to actually get a reset or to kill an enemy tank that happens to be capping to win a game. Oh, there's somebody coming around that corner, I think. Batch at 12 ton, threatening our T-34 and an Astron Rex as well. Now you can see Mike does spend a lot of time in sniper view, but then again on this battle here, in this particular position, he has to be in sniper view really to get shots on the enemy. Although one thing I would suggest is it might be a good idea every now and then just to come out of sniper view, to sit behind the vehicle at long range, just to give an all-round view of where everyone is. That way you don't get missed out on that Astron Rex who's desperately trying to come around that corner to attack the T-34. You see, at this moment all he can see is directly ahead of him, but yep, that Astron Rex is threatening. And trying to get the top of a turret of a Lura is very difficult. Remember, that thing's got very heavy turret armor, very well angled turret armor, so your shots aren't likely to penetrate unless they can go for the cupola. And at this range, going for the cupola is pretty difficult. Well, the team are up by 2 at the moment. their tanks are still doing quite well on the south side because of, well, they've still got their territory, but they're doing badly back at their cap area. And, you know, I would say to Mike that maybe now's the time to consider relocating to the enemy area of the map and taking the fight to their cap area, because these guys aren't moving anywhere and you can't really penetrate any of those tanks because they've got fairly thick armor. The Lurva, for instance, although he just died actually, he actually took a shot from a VK101P. And trying to penetrate those tanks with this armor without using heat is pretty difficult. You'd have to hit the cupola if you wanted to get a shot straight through the cupola with standard rounds. And with the heat rounds, well, yes, you might be able to get it between the tracks, but there are weaker tanks on the enemy team, like their Borsig and their SU-130Y GFT, and those guys are fairly weak. And at the moment, if you notice in the north, our SU-132 is all on his own. He's just holding the north with a T-44 down in the south backing up the T-34, and their Liberté is gone, and we've still got a 2-tank gap. So that means now there's only 6 tanks left on the enemy team, and 3 of those are actually in the south, which means 3 of the enemy are actually up in the north. And that means it's the GW Tiger P, the SU-130Y GFT and the Borsig are all back at the enemy cap area. So you don't want to go through that gap to your left, but you might want to consider going elsewhere. Now, looks to me like he's going to try and get a kill shot on the Bisonte. He's coming up behind the guy. Bisonte's about to get a nasty shot though. Oh, and he's gone. Right through the turret's armor. And that was well played as well, because he actually aimed that outside the vehicle without the using the sniper view. Now there's an IS-6 around here. Now he's fairly well, still healthy and fairly well armoured, so you might want to consider letting the Progetto get a couple of shots into that guy first before you start trying to put holes in him. The T-34 will probably help you as well. He's got still got some hit points and he's got armor. The SU-130PM, based on the SU-100PM, doesn't really have any armor at all. The strongest armor is 20mm. That is ridiculously soft. Very easy to pen. You can see he's trying to come up this way. I would suggest it would have been a bit better if he'd gone a bit further back and tried to come up by one of the other rises. But anyway, he's doing what he's doing here. You see, if he exposes any sort of armor to the enemy, the tank destroyers up north are going to have a go. And they might be able to get an accurate shot into Mike. And here we got the IS-6 in sight. Yeah, so he's been spotted, I think. Although 6 sets didn't go off, I would have thought the IS-6 had seen him. Maybe he didn't. I keep looking at the map and saying that SU-132 is all alone. He's holding that corner, stopping the enemy from going to our cap area. But if he had a bit of support, they could invade the enemy area and start putting pressure on their cap. Well, that was the GW Tiger P, and we now know where the enemy tank destroyers are. They are in a position where they can't defend themselves if the SU-132 and Mike were to go round the north. Something just hit the ground near him. I'm pretty certain that was one of the tank destroyers. Probably the Borsig. So if he pokes up too hard, he might get shot at. There's the Borsig, he's hiding. Okay, the Borsig's probably going to come down now. He can see that Mike's pulled back. Yeah, my inclination would be to pull back from here, let these guys try and press this area here and go round to attack the enemy from a different direction, so they have to split their fire, and that will give these guys a chance. He's trying to get a shot on the GW. The enemy IS-6 is holding that corner to stop the guys coming up too far. But that GW... Oh, he's gone! The T-34 got him. That's useful. So it's now only 3 left on the enemy team. One of the tank destroyers just took a hit. The IS-6 just took a hit. Okay, so now will be the moment. Because these guys aren't looking. They're not looking. If they dare pop out, they're going to get hit. Okay, get around into that IS-6. Well, he hit the tracks. And that's holding him there momentarily. The Progetto's gone round the north, just like I suggested that Mike should do. And although he's got low hit points, he's now coming up in a position where he can actually shoot the IS-6 as well as go after that right Borsig. The Borsig just got taken out. Or did he? No, he didn't get taken out, but the IS-6 is gone and Mike got him. Okay, the SU-130 relocated to the northeast corner and he did kill the Progetto. So he's way up there in the north now and Mike can take him out. He just needs to aim in the right spot. That's it. That guy's sitting in that corner. And now the Borsig is the only one who's spotting for the Wizzy. Only 2 left on the enemy team, thanks to Mike killing the IS-6. He's blind firing into the corner, which is a perfectly valid tactic. If you know somebody's in there but you can't see them, the chances are just take a shot in that direction, you might contact him. He's just saw the Wizzy fire and miss. He's going to try again. Go for it. Oh! It went over the top of him. Okay, he's moving though because the SU-132's got close. And he knows now that he has to move. The T-34's being very cautious because now's the time to go. Go! Push it! Push it! That's it. The Borsig's having to relocate. And despite the fact he just killed the T-34, no, keep moving! Keep moving! The Borsig can't get a shot on you once you close the angle on that gap. He can't get a shot on you because if he tries to pop out, your teammate behind you is going to shoot him. And if he does try to go for the gap, he's probably not going to be able to get a shot anyway. Now, the Borsig's a one shot. Take him down. Go for it. Yep, got him. So that's his 3rd kill. Now, Mike, it's just a Wizzy, and he's just in front of you. Oh, he did get a hit. It ricocheted off the SU-130. Now, my inclination would be to keep going forward, but he's pulled back to get back into cover. There's a little dip there if you go just in front of that driveway. That would have been the better spot to go. Oh, he's going to go round. Okay, well, this is a good move as well. We've only got 2 minutes left on the clock. He's going to go round the outside and cut that SU-130 off just in case he tries to double back and go around and retreat away from us. And here he is! He's coming towards us. Aim shot, please. Yes, he got a hit, but he's now got to reload. He does take a ram hit from the Wizzy, loses some hit points, and he takes a round, but now he can get the kill shot to win the game. Yes! First game is a victory. That was good. Here's the end of battle results for the first game, and it's a second class tank for Mike1963_1 in the SU-130PM. He managed to get a duelist for taking down 2 tanks that damaged him, a fighter badge for getting at least 4 kills, he did get 4 exactly, and a 5 for effect for doing more damage than the hit points for his own vehicle. Let's have a look at team score and see where he stands. Didn't get the highest damage in the game. That actually went to the SU-130Y GFT that he killed right at the end with 3,980 hit points, got the high caliber. The second highest damage in the game went to that Borsig with 3,587 hit points. And the third highest damage went to the Emil 1 on his team with 3,457. Mike managed to get 2,423. No slouch, he was actually working quite hard. He was beaten by, let's have a look, 3 members of the enemy team, so he's actually in 6th place overall. When it came to kills though, he was top of the tree. He got 4 kills in that game. 3 kills went to the T-34, the AMX M449 Liberté, and the Borsig as well, 3 kills. And when it came to base XP, we can see that he's actually in 3rd place overall in the game, because the Emil managed to get 1,140, the T-34 got 1,061, and Mike managed to get 1,029, one of the only 3 players who got over 1,000 base. He fired 15 rounds in that game, 11 direct hits, 7 penetrations. A lot of the shots that he didn't penetrate were fired at the Lerva and the other tanks at long distance. I'm afraid it doesn't have great penetration capability unless you use the premium rounds, the heat rounds, and really you have to pick your targets so you know you can get through it. The Lerva, when it's angled, can be very, very difficult to get through the upper plates or the turret. So it's probably not worth using those rounds unless you can get a precise aim on the cupola. That's the best place to aim, but at long range that's going to be incredibly difficult, probably not worth trying. 2,423 hit points of damage, of which 1,052 were at more than 300 meters. So you can see he did some long range shooting in that one. 3 hits received from the enemy, 2 penetrations, 1 non-penetration. Both penetrations came from the SU-130, if I remember correctly, and I can't remember who got the non-penetration on him. But 6 enemy vehicles were damaged, 4 were killed, 139 hit points of damage assistance. He earned 49,049 credits from the game, and after repair, ammunition resupply took away 47,413 credits. Not a bad game. 1,029 XP times 2 for the first victory, 1,544 from personal reserves, 154 for this being a premium vehicle, took away 4,786 experience points altogether. He said, worthy of a replay. Yeah, it is actually, it's quite a good one. And it shows the weaknesses of the SU-130PM as well as its strengths. It does have that nice ability to dash, but again, it takes a long time to work up its speed or accelerate. So it's not so great in that sense. The other thing you've got to watch out for is that lack of armor. If anything hits you, it's going to damage you. You saw in that moment where the Wizzy actually did ram him. He actually rammed him twice. Once from the actual initial impact, and again when he did a second try to try and damage Mike. And each time he did, but he didn't take a huge amount of hit points. It was the big shot that he made with his 122mm gun that did the most damage. But of course, Mike had a 13cm gun, which could do much more damage to the SU-130 at close range. And so long as his shell didn't ricochet off that frontal armour on the SU-130, which means, of course, aiming for a weak spot, then you are going to penetrate the guy and finish him off, especially when he's low on hit points like that. So that was a good game. That was a fun one. And he did win the game for his team. Let's have a look at the second replay. Here's the second replay, and it's in the box tank, the SU-100Y, and we're on the northeast spawn of Glacier. Well, this tank was made famous, I think it was by Quickie Baby actually. I think he was the first one to actually call it the box tank, mainly because it is shaped like a box. It's basically a huge casement mounted around the area where the gun was mounted. And the gun was a naval gun. In fact, actually, it was actually used on cruisers and coastal batteries to destroy any ships that got too close. So it's a huge gun, 13cm gun, capable of doing 440 alpha and penetrating 196mm with standard ammo at tier 6. So it does a huge amount of damage, really, disproportionately huge amount. And with the premium rounds, it will go through 171mm. So it goes through more penetration with standard ammo than it does with premium. But the premium does more damage than the standard. 440 for the standard, 510 for the premium, but less penetration. Now I should mention as well that it does have a fairly meaty HE round, which is actually more powder than the 122mm rounds you'll find on some of the other tanks. You can see here the HE will do 580 alpha, 65mm of penetration. Now the thing about this this tank is that originally they were planning to put a 152mm gun, the M10 gun, on it, but originally when it was built it had the 13cm, but after the success of the KV2 they decided they didn't want to go ahead with mounting that 152 instead. They just kept it with the 13cm, and it was used throughout the entire war from the moment it was ready. There was only one prototype. It went to Kubinka in Moscow, where the Russians have now got their tank museum, and it was actually used alongside the SU-130 and the SU-130, the artilleries. Apparently it was used to actually destroy gun emplacements, troops, you name it. The original design was supposed to be used against the Finns and their gun emplacements on the Mannerheim line for the Winter War. So it was actually built during 1940, but it wasn't ready in time for the Winter War, so instead it was used in the defense of Moscow. And after they used it for Moscow, they then used it throughout the rest of the war, including in Kursk, to defeat the Germans. So it was brought in as a special unit to actually destroy gun emplacements. Now, one thing it was particularly good at doing was destroying dragon's teeth. Yeah, those things you see on Siegfried Line. Yep, they had plenty of those throughout the war, gun emplacements that were put in. They were virtually impossible for tanks to cross without ripping out their innards, and that's why in one way actually they should modify the game to either have those as destructible scenery, or alternatively that they too block enemy tanks from going over them, unless of course they've already been previously destroyed. And that would actually then make it more realistic, because at the moment you can just bounce over the dragon's teeth, but back then during the war you couldn't do that, because if you tried it would literally tear the underside of the tank to pieces. So the box tank was actually particularly effective at destroying dragon's teeth, because that big gun could be accurately aimed and take out an individual dragon's tooth at a time until there was a big enough gap for the tanks to go through. Now, as for the rest of the tank, the hull was based on the T100 heavy tank. It had torsion bar suspension, and the engine, which was massive, generating, I think it was over 800 horsepower, was the same engine that they actually put into Soviet torpedo boats. So it was very, very powerful. It was a naval engine as well as a naval gun. Mind you, remember, this tank was a one-off. Only one prototype built, no production line. So of course they weren't intending to mass manufacture this thing. It does have some drawbacks. The fact is it's quite big, so it doesn't have very good camera rating. It doesn't have great armour. It's got 60mm around the casement, which protects the crew from artillery splinters and small arms fire. But of course it wouldn't stop a round actually aimed at the box. And the box is quite big, so it's fairly easy to hit. Most tanks can penetrate this. The really good thing, as I said though earlier on, is the high alpha. It's got very high alpha on the enemy. 440 at tier 6 is devastating. It's like a one-shot kill for a lot of the enemy tanks, especially the fact that the shells are likely to carve straight through their target. It's also quite mobile, although a lot of people don't find that out unless they actually encounter one. 35 kilometers an hour top speed forwards, and don't let that deceive you, it's still fairly agile. The gun can move 10 degrees either side of the center line, so you've got a 20-degree arc, which means that it doesn't have to keep moving to adjust its aim, unlike some other tank destroyers. nice first shot on the Nashorn. I was wondering when he was going to get his first, but that was a low roll. The other thing, of course, is the long reload. That is a bit of a pain. 15.34 seconds is the book reload. But, of course, when you can do that, with 2 shots you take out an enemy vehicle, yeah, it kind of compensates, doesn't it? 13.58 is what Mike's got. So he's got his first kill. I think that IKV-90B is about to get a wake-up call. And he's out of the game. Yeah, it's one of those tanks, you know, see a target, blow the target up. I think a lot of people who play the box tank find it fun simply because you can just literally dirt one enemy vehicle out of the game every shot, or nearly every shot. But of course, they've got to compensate that with the fact that this vehicle is so big, it's so easy to see, you can't really camouflage yourself very well. And if the enemy does see you, or artillery knows where you are, they might be able to put a shell on top of you. And you are a priority target because you're big, you've got a big gun, and they need to take you out of the game as quickly as possible. It's also one of those vehicles that can act as quite a healthy hit point pinata. So you can literally, you know, derp it to get all the hit points. 780 is the hit points. Lining it up. Yep, he's gone. It is hilarious to do that. It really is. So he's now got 3 kills. Remember, he got 4 in the previous game. There's only 5 enemies left, but they're 1 down on the enemy. Got an ARL 44 coming up behind him. I'm surprised the ARL didn't actually try to take action against him, but if he gets into the right place, oh, he doesn't need to. The Britannia Panther, the Baguette Panther, killed the ARL 44. There's a Tiger on the way up, and if he can get into the right position, that Tiger's going to get one hell of a shock as well. There he is. He's going after the Baguette as well. Oh, and he's not the only one up there. There's also a Sherman Jumbo. Okay, can he get a shot on this Tiger? No, because he was a little late. But the Baguette's coming this way. So if he gets lined up, then when the Baguette comes around the corner and the other 2 chase him around the corner, then Mike can get a shot into him. I saw a tree go down. We do know there's an enemy KV-2 out there somewhere as well. Okay, there's the Sherman Jumbo. He's a 1-shot. He's not very well lined up because the rock's actually in the way. If they do come around the corner at this moment, he's going to have to try and reposition himself to get shots on that Sherman Jumbo. He's actually pushing himself out to get further out so he can actually see the target. You can see it's not a very good position here. He could go a little further over to the right and then turn to the target. Tiger's a little healthier. It's going to take him 2 shots to kill the Tiger 1. 1 shot to kill the Sherman Jumbo. There's the Baguette. Okay, so the Baguette's pulled out round the corner. They have to come out after the Baguette if they want to get him. And I think one of them's actually going around the other way to try to cut him off. Okay, there's the Tiger. Tiger time. 496, a high roll, and the Tiger goes down immediately afterwards. So he didn't get the kill, but he did get a lot of hit points off him. The tree went down round the back, so I think the Sherman is repositioning himself. That was a blind shot on the off chance that he was still up there. There's only 3 enemies left now. So they have every chance of winning this. Still don't know where that KV-2 is. That would be a nice kill. I'm pretty sure that Britannia Panther is going to probably try and take out that M4. And the KV-2's suddenly come into sight. He's outside our view range at the moment. We still don't know where that Sherman is. Oh, now we do. And the Britannia Panther just took a hit. But he did kill the KV-2. So I think that Mike has now decided he's going to go out after the Sherman Jumbo. He's going to chase him down. And the Jumbo's gone. So that means now there's only 1 enemy left. It's the Jackson. The M36 Jackson, the American turreted tank destroyer with the 90mm gun, and he was last seen behind us, so I think he might want to change direction, turn around and go back the way he came. I have the feeling he's going up on top of this heights here to try and spot the Jackson if he can. Well, I'm wrong, he's not doing that. Okay. Is he going to overlook the lake, or is he going down onto the lake? He's going down onto the lake. Everyone's going to the enemy cap area. It's quite amusing to think actually that they built one prototype and they didn't mass produce them, because this tank destroyer would have actually been superb at destroying fortifications. See, the enemy would have seen it coming and thought, uh-oh, we're definitely doomed. But I suppose actually what they were thinking about at the time was we don't really need to produce any more, simply because the SU-152 was smaller, lower, better camo, higher caliber gun, so it would have been much more preferable for the B13 S2 naval gun to have that instead to have the B10 152mm gun instead. Oh no, he's changed course. Well, we're into the last 2 minutes. Our team are arriving at the enemy cap area. I think he's looking for that Jackson now. Last spotted place is ahead of us. I kind of get the feeling that if he'd actually turned around and gone straight there straight away, he probably would have ended the battle fairly early on. Oh! Enemy spotted! There's the Jackson. He did make it to our cap area. Lining up a shot, leading target. Yes, he gets a hit for 433. Remember, that's still a low roll. And of course, he's just outside the 10 degrees at the moment. The Jackson's firing one back, but the Jackson's about to die. Nice one. Derps him out of existence. Wins the game. Just like in the previous battle. Here's the end of battle stats, and that was a first class tank for Mike 1963-1 or _1 in the SU-100Y box tank. He managed to get a fighter badge just as he did in the previous game for getting at least 4 kills. He did get 4, and he got a fire for effect for 2 more damage than the hit points to his own vehicle. Sadly, he didn't get any other medal, but he did have a bit of fun. He didn't get the highest damage in the game because that went to the enemy T-29 with 3,421 hit points, but he did get the second highest damage in the game, so he was close. 2,841 went to Mike. He also managed to get the highest number of kills because just like in the previous game, he got 4 kills whilst everyone else got 3 or below. 3 kills went to the Britann Panther, the T-3485M, and on the enemy team, their SU-100M1. And when it came to base XP, he got the highest in the game in this one, 1,111. 1,107 went to the T-3485M, and those are the only 2 players who managed to get over 1,000, the third highest being the Britann Panther with 844. Mike fired 10 rounds in the game, 8 direct hits and 8 penetrations, so much better on this one than in the previous one. 2,841 hit points of damage, of which 2,181 were at more than 300 meters. So you can see this is very much a long-range shooting tank destroyer. If you've got the chance to shoot them at long range, you don't really want to get too close to the enemy because, of course, it's so big a structure. It not only it hasn't got camo, but it's very easy to pen it. Very easy because that's 60 millimeters of armor around the casement. He received 1 hit, it was penetration, that was from the Jackson. There was no way he could avoid that 90mm round hitting him, he's just too big. But he made Jackson pay for it by taking him out of the game. 6 enemy vehicles damaged, 4 killed, 240 hit points of damage assistance. He earned 45,700 credits from the game, 85,000 for mission payout, and after repair and ammunition resupply took away a profit of 146,073 credits altogether. Yes, he did get a high missions payout there, but it's rather nice that it's a huge lump of credits for relatively little work and getting a massive amount of damage in the process. 1,111 XP, 500 for this being a premium vehicle, 2,167 experience points altogether. So yeah, I think that it just goes to show that the box tank is a fun tank destroyer to play, so long as you play it carefully and don't try to avoid getting punctured by the enemy. If you play it too boldly, you can actually come a cropper. And remember, that's what the Soviets actually didn't play it boldly, although they did get seen when they were approaching the target to wipe out the bunkers or the Dragon's Teeth. The fact is, the Finns or the Germans really, well, it wasn't the Finns actually, it was the Germans, couldn't really do much about it. When they saw this thing coming, they knew that they were going to get wiped out because they really didn't have anything that they could respond with that could actually take this thing out properly. So, I just thought you might want to see as well, this is the real thing. Yes, it's at Kubinka. It's beautiful, actually. It's in lovely condition, perfect condition. The Russians have done a great job restoring and keeping a lot of their machinery in tip-top condition. It is historical. I mean, after all, it was the only one built ever. It did see action. And yes, it's in the game as well, and it's quite a fun little thing. It's a premium tank destroyer, so you can buy one and have a bit of fun, and you can train crew. The reason the box was so big, by the way, was simply because not only was it a massive gun, but they had 30 rounds of ammunition in there. In the war, they actually have 15 rounds of HE and 15 rounds of the armor piercing for going at the fortifications. But if you consider all that ammo inside this tank and the fact that it actually required 2 loaders as well as the gunners and the commander and the radio operator and everything like that, it's a lot of people inside there. It was quite cramped, so they had to make the box structure bigger to actually make it more comfortable for the crew to actually operate this vehicle. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that game. Nice little game by Mike. And also, of course, the previous game where he actually won with the SU-130PM. If you enjoyed that video, please give it a like, do subscribe to our channel, leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm. And please do remember to let other people know that not only does What Arty Noobs exist, and that we do all sorts of replay, you've got a much better chance of appearing on our channel than you have on appearing on anyone else's. Because although Klaus Kellerman and Quickie Baby and Jingles do a reasonable number of other people's replays, most of the time they just can't cater to all the people who send them in replays because they're just too many. So a lot of people get their replay rejected. And the best way to actually get your replays accepted is if you send in a replay which is actually quite good, and then if we've got enough space, we might be able to fit it in. But certainly we obviously like to see replays which are interesting, and of course that we can put together for our members. Thanks for watching.